Hello and welcome back to The Movies Made Us Do It. Happy New Year. We didn't do that last time, as you pointed out, Matt. So we've done it now.
Let's do it this time as well, actually.
I mean, it's our 2023 wrap-up, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Happy New Year, everyone. Hi, Matt. How are you doing?
Other than a slight cold, pretty good, sir. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Slight cold, but we're going to push through.
Yep.
It may be a shorter episode anyway. We're talking about films we have presumably already talked about. Maybe not. We don't know each other's top five. You know my number one. Let's not fucking pretend like, everyone fucking knows what my number one is. I might as well have just, removed it from the list. But,
And I haven't seen that movie yet, so
no.
Chances are my list would have changed if I had seen that. But
I would imagine it would be in your top five, but who knows? Anyway, 2023 was a bit shit, but it had some great movies in it.
Weirdly, so when I was compiling the list, I was looking back through all the stuff we've reviewed and all what I watched, and I was thinking, God, this is going to be a really difficult list because I can't think of anything really good. And I went for this and I was like,
there was a lot.
Actually, there's some really good movies this year, surprisingly.
I went through the same process where I was like, I'm going to struggle to find five. And then I was like, oh no, I'm struggling to keep it to five, actually. I've got a few, honorable mentions. There were films that were up there. I was like, actually, it was a pretty good year overall.
And though it's not made my list, I did, and I forgot to mention it to you, I did see that Bristol movie.
I enjoyed that movie. I wouldn't put it in the top five, but I thought it was fun.
I liked that movie very much.
Yes.
It was very Bristol. I liked it.
Very Bristol and very nostalgic for that time period. And I think for the budget, they did a very good job of hiding modern day for the most part. There was some stuff, blurred out in the background. But I thought it was a fun movie. The
Fence, that was it.
The Fence, yes. And there's two versions of that, because there's the YouTube version, which is the early version that they made, and then they did a movie version later. Yes. So.
Yeah.
I presume you saw the version on Prime or whatever.
Film 4, actually.
Okay, yeah, that will be the full version. Fun movie, that. I like that. But anyway, we're here to do our top 5 of the year. And do you want to kick off with your number 5 movie?
So my number 5 is Megan.
Megan, the robot movie.
Yeah. No, I understand. I've seen this year much better made movies, much better acted movies, much better written movies.
It doesn't matter though, does it?
This movie just brought me joy. I grinned through the whole movie. It was just such fun. I mean, as I said in the review, every adult is pretty much a moron, especially the aunt.
Sometimes in a horror movie, that's what you want.
Exactly, exactly.
And the older you get in life, the more you realise that there are people that dumb.
Yep.
So, you know.
It's
like, when I was younger, I used to be like, especially with horror movies, I'd be like, no one's that stupid. Yeah. And the older I get now, the more I'm like, yeah, they're probably.
the more people you meet, the more disappointed in the humanity you become.
Exactly, right? So, yeah.
So it was just such a real fun time. The Megan herself is great. She's really, there have been Chucky is always going to be the standard, isn't it? It's always going to be the one that everybody sort of judges.
Yeah.
By, really.
I do think with Megan, though, they've got that weird uncanny valley creepiness to her.
Yep.
That Chucky obviously doesn't have, because Chucky looks like a doll. That was the joke. With Megan, I think you have got that added layer of
It's more of a robot, I suppose, than a doll. So you get these sort of a little bit more of that, but it's still she's a great creation. She's she is, like you said, she's creepy, but she's sort of kind of, you can see why a child would want to spend time with her, and especially with when within the movie, was it Katie is the girl, with the circumstances with her and the fact that her aunt doesn't really know what she's fucking doing. And this robot has been programmed to literally protect this person
Yes.
pair with this person and do everything it can to, stop bad things happening to this child.
Yeah.
And at no point do you think maybe that's not such a good thing to program this this steel skeletal machine to protect it to the point of murder, basically. Although obviously that wasn't the intention, but
no, but the Asimov rules of robotics exist for a reason.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I guess, the biggest stretch is that in this day and age, anyone that's into robotics wouldn't have read Asimov and wouldn't think, oh, that's quite a good idea.
Yeah, let's put those in.
But then we wouldn't have a horror movie, would we?
No.
So.
And I don't know whether they've actually brought out. Have they actually brought out the unrated version yet, or is that still?
I don't know,
because I haven't seen. Because I presume they were gonna at some point release an unrated because we know it was.
It was clearly cut. Yeah.
Yeah, we know it was cut down to get younger. A younger audience to come in because of the TikTok thing.
Yeah.
Dance, and that's the thing. You can. It had that appeal because the doll, Megan, is funny and brutal, and she's got that appeal that younger audience will go, oh yeah, that's something I can look forward to. I don't want to be too sort of thing and say, yeah, she's like Chucky, because Chucky's pretty phenomenal.
Chucky had the voice and the attitude and it's a different.
And Chucky's up there with the
greats,
with the big with Freddy and Jason and
it's often lumped in with that. He's like the big four, isn't it? And Chucky's kind of number 4 on that list. You got Mike Myers, Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, Chucky.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then Pinhead and
and Leatherface sort of.
Yeah.
We've got those sort of core horror icons, and I think she has the potential to be that.
Yeah, certainly for modern day.
Make shitloads of money, so of course they're going to make a sequel.
Mm.
And I just had such fun with the movie, and it stayed with me all year.
Yeah,
and I think that seems to be the thing with my list this year. It's movies that I had fun with, actually.
I completely agree. And that takes me on to my number 5. I will be honest, these bottom 2 have been switching all day.
Right.
Can't decide which order they go in. I don't know that it matters, but I keep going back and forth. Both of these movies, my number 5 and my number 4, are fucking Marmite, and some people are going to absolutely hate them. Some people are absolutely going to love them. I'm going to say my number 5 was No One Will Save You.
Yep, I still haven't seen that.
So, yes, directed by Brian Duffield and starring Caitlin Dever, who is pretty much on her own for the whole movie. It is a film pretty much devoid of all dialogue. She speaks one line, and I will not talk about it because it is a massive spoiler. It's like the pivotal point of the movie. Other than that, she's on her own. There is no dialogue. It is kind of all the best parts of Signs. It's kind of what Signs should be,
See, when I'm with you until you compare it to Signs. That's when my brain starts shutting off.
Well, no, because Signs, I still think, my friend said, I think I said during this review, my friend said, I really like the very beginning of Signs when the aliens are in the grass and they're, it's got that. But this one goes better, it goes good. This film is entirely carried by its score and by its performance by Caitlin, which is tremendous. It's basically a home invasion / town invasion movie from the perspective of one person in an isolated house when, these alien grey type creatures basically take over the town. All told from her perspective. There is obviously a backstory to her and why she's living this kind of solitary existence, which unfolds as the movie goes. I loved this movie. I think a lot of people will love the first half, and then they won't necessarily like the second half, and I think a lot of people will hate the ending.
Yeah, from what I've read,
I loved the ending.
General consensus.
I loved the ending, but I totally understand why a lot of people won't. So, yeah, my number 4, No One Will Save You, I thought was my number 5. See, I've already done it. My number 5. I thought it was tremendous.
Okay.
So what is your number 4?
My number 4 is Saltburn.
Oh, okay, a movie I have not seen. I have heard a lot about Saltburn.
I think, was it the last show we did? Last review show?
Last show, yeah, last show.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's not much to say, really, other than the fact that I just enjoy it. It's so dark and horrible and grim at times, and in some scenes, out and out gross.
Yes, I've heard a lot about a bath scene.
Yes.
I've not seen it or heard anything about it other than everyone keeps saying, oh my god, the bath scene. So at some point I will watch it and then I'll know.
You have,
I've got to know because I feel like I'm being left out of the party, right?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it took my wife just turned away like heaving, so but it's got great performances. I mean, the main guy is just wonderful. Is it Barry Keogh? Is just amazing. I've seen him in stuff before, and I know he's a very intense actor. He's really good, but in this, he has the right amount of sort of vulnerability when he needs to, and just terrifying when he needs to. He walks a really fine line, and a very, well done performance it is. It's just a really nice, disturbing movie, and it is like I said, it's basically Talented Mr. Ripley meets Brideshead Revisited. It's that sort of movie, and it's just really good, and I highly recommend it because it was just blew me away when I watched it, and I just it's one of those movies that stays with you afterwards. You're like, and I think some people will be disappointed with the end because how it plays out. But for me, it was like, no, it's definite. It's shows you what happened, and you're just like, yeah, no, that's what I thought. I don't need the ambiguity.
Yeah,
it's fine. And so Saltburn, my number 4.
Well, my number 4, I think the last of what I will call the Marmite movies that people are either going to love or hate, is Butcher's Crossing.
Yep. Okay.
Directed by Gabe Polsky, starring Nicolas Cage and Fred Herchinger. Is this on your list, first of all?
It's not on my list.
Okay, cool. Then I will talk about it. If it was on your list but higher, I was going to wait. So, cool.
No, it would definitely be an honourable mention, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I, like you, thought it was a fantastic movie.
Yeah. So, set in 1874, we basically get this, millennial kid who basically thinks he knows the world.
Millennial.
Yeah, he basically, he thinks he knows the world. He's like, hey, I'm going to go hunt some buffalo, because he kind of sees it as it's highly romanticized,
He's a college boy, isn't he?
College boy. He's run away from home basically to do this against his father's wishes, effectively.
He wants to experience it in the flesh. He wants to get into it.
Yeah.
He doesn't sit behind a desk. No,
he wants to get out there and prove himself. But of course he's sent by his father to meet MacDonald, this old friend of the family or whatever, who runs this operation, and then he meets Miller, Nicolas Cage's Miller, who has this. He during the war he found this area, and it had more buffalo than the whole of the United States put together. And it's this secret place. It's very hard to get to, and it's this sanctuary for buffalo. So he wants to go out there, and basically he wants to bring back the biggest haul you have ever seen. So he heads out with a bunch.
I love the fact that the people think he's mental.
Everyone thinks he's mental.
He's made it up. They don't. No one believes that this valley exists.
No, and because if they did, it wouldn't be there.
Yeah,
anymore, you know.
and he's clearly a slightly
Oh no, he
nuts
is
dude. So
he is mental. Just he's right about this.
yeah, exactly.
He is definitely mental though. So yeah, he heads off with Miller and this band of basically religious nutbags. Go out with him, and they get stranded out there due to the weather. Once they're there, the place does exist. And I will say no more than that. It's about them surviving out there, and then returning.
And
if you know the dates, you'll probably know the end.
Yeah, I think when we did the review, I think we talked a lot about the fact that it was the end of the Buffalo boom.
Yeah,
It increasingly gets worse for them.
Yeah, this is not a movie for people that want a happy ending.
Oh yeah, no, it's not. I love one of the things I loved most about this movie is it's clearly a very cheap movie.
Yes, I mean some of the CG effects are not great.
Yeah, but the shots that they pull off.
Yeah, it's great.
Wonderful. Just sort of out in the forest shots, and the snowstorm that comes in is just wonderful. And Cage is, it's brooding and but not over the top Cage. I think
no, he's only over the top when he kind of needs to be. Right, there's key moments.
In some respects, quite understated. It's that he does this very good job of having, you look at him and
it's the look in his eyes
broiling underneath.
Uh-huh.
You can see that sort of rage and madness underneath, and he doesn't really do very much. He's just sat there, and it's just Nicolas Cage being fucking awesome, really.
As he has been. I mean, Nicolas Cage has been on our top 5 most years in recent years.
Last couple of years, he's been, if not the number one for me, then certainly been on the list. Yeah. This movie did come pretty close to being on my list.
It's a movie I keep thinking about,
mm-hmm.
and like you, it's that kind of. A lot of my films this year were just like films that I keep thinking about. Yeah. As the years gone on, and since I saw No One Will Save You, it's been in my head, and since I saw Butcher's Crossing, it's been in my head. So yeah, I thought this was a tremendous movie. Again, it is probably Marmite. Some people will hate it. I loved this movie. I thought it was great. So, what is your number 3?
My number 3 is Sisu.
Now this would have been an honourable mention for me.
Again, like Megan, better films have made better films.
Yeah, of course.
In this year, but
it's
this
great
movie
time.
Just such a joy to watch.
Yeah, this movie is so much fun.
It is a John Wick movie in the Second World War, really, and it's so over the top and so ridiculous at times.
And yet, it manages to actually be quite moving in places too.
Yeah,
which is weird. I never expected that.
Mm-hmm. You really feel for this dude, and you really feel for the what he's been through and what he's going through, and it's just one dude wanting to go his way and go pay his gold into the bank, and that's it. He doesn't want any more to do with anything else or anybody else.
No,
and he's just basically drawn into this shit through sheer madness and venom and greed. And you've got even the small parts of the girls that are there. They're great. They're just really. I mean, sure, horrible and nasty, but real fun and real sort of and the Tomila who plays Atami, what a presence! He's just. He doesn't really. Again,
it's that look in the eyes and that. Yeah.
He's got one. I think he's got one line in the whole movie, and
yes,
it's just him, brooding around and doing stuff with his dog,
playing with landmines,
and taking out Nazis in the most brutal and ridiculous way. I mean, you see in the trailer that the when he takes the dude out with the
landmine, fantastic.
just hilarious.
I mean,
even when you get to the plane, and you just, how the fuck is he going to do this? And you think, oh, he's going to do it like that. Fine, okay.
Yeah, fine. We've reached that point of the movie where he's just going to do that.
Yeah.
I think as well, like I said, it has a surprising amount of heart, and it was surprisingly compelling considering how silly it was, you know?
Huh?
And wonderful cinematography, by the way.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
So beautiful shots in it of the finished landscape. It's just...
I just think when you see that in a film like Sisu, you're like, you didn't have to do that.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't come here for this.
Yeah.
But it's great that you've got wonderful cinematography as well. That's great, you know.
And, you know, I'm going to butcher the director's name. Jamari Palander. He's, you know, we've seen his previous movies, you know, the rare exports and stuff, and he has a beautiful eye. He knows how to make a very beautiful shot. So it's just wonderful that he added these little shots of beauty in what is basically just a over the top war movie, you know, in a John Wick style. And it was, I love the fact that it was just, he wrote this during lockdown because he couldn't make the movie he wanted to make.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, it's one of my favorite films of the year. It's in your top 5, and he just made it because he was like, well, I got nothing better to do.
Yeah,
I'll just throw this movie together, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's just a pure joyous destruction and mayhem.
Yeah, and sometimes that's what you want.
Yeah, exactly. You just want that, and that's exactly what it is. It stayed with me because of it's just pure fun and madness that I really enjoyed.
Yeah. Well, my number 3 we talked about last week is Talk to Me, directed by Danny Filippo, starring Sophie Wilde and Alexandra Jensen, Miranda Otto as well. But it's in a great performance. We talked about it last week. It is basically a possession movie for the TikTok generation. I think it's got wonderful social commentary, wonderful acting, some really, really surprisingly graphic horror. That kind of surprises you when it picks its spots for when it's gonna do stuff.
Yeah,
and it is really impactful for that.
I mean, like I said last week, the opening scene. Wow, what a way to open the movie. And
I agree. Yeah,
later with the main kid, it's just like, wow, fuck.
Yeah,
that's fucking brutal, and that. You know, those scenes keep going. The scenes with the boy, they keep going. And you're like, fuck, someone do something. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and it's a really compelling young cast. I think all of the actors in this are superb.
Yeah.
And you know, teen actors, they're hit and miss. Every single one of them in this is superb.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, ultimately the story is compelling too. You want Mia to succeed, and you feel heartbroken when she's kind of kicked out of her adopted kind of family.
Yeah.
But you can also see why Miranda Otto's character thinks, no, go away. Like, you totally see it from both sides. I think it's a really well written, really tight horror movie. And as I said last week, it's the everything everywhere, you know, of this year, where we have Talk to Me, and then we've got the Doctor Strange of last year, which in this case is Exorcist Believer. You know, it's the smaller indie movie, if I can call it an indie movie, is just far superior. If you're looking for a possession-y movie this year, this is the one.
I think again though, it's because those movies were done with love,
passion,
and general passion for the movie that they were making.
Yeah.
Whereas the big money ones,
so cash it.
Yeah.
Cash in on the name, and
certainly for The Exorcist, and I haven't watched it. I probably won't.
I don't recommend it.
I don't think I can be bothered.
Stick with 1 and 3.
Yeah.
And leave it at that.
the only reason I watched Doctor Strange is, well, there's two reasons I watched Doctor Strange. One, Doctor Strange has always been one of my favourite Marvel heroes, and it's Sam Raimi. I mean, I'm almost compelled to watch it because it's Sam Raimi.
There were moments of Sam Raimi in that movie.
Blatant moments where you're like, "That's him! I can see him."
Yeah,
there
he is. There he is.
He's hiding. He's hiding behind that pillar.
For one scene, there he is.
He's hiding in that grave just over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is. It was a surprise how good that this movie was, because I saw the trailers and I thought, oh, I don't know. And after your review, I thought, well, okay, maybe I'll give it a go at some point. And I thought, well, no, I'll give it a go. And I agree. It's a really good, well-made possession movie at its heart. It's just, and some genuinely great, disturbing visions. As I said, the vision of where the boy is when the little girl shows her what she sees, and what a neat idea that was. It's just just a little sort of, oh, it works fucking both ways. Shit.
yeah. No, I thought Talk to Me was superb. Was going to be my number 2, but something did that. What's your number 2?
My number 2 is The Killer.
Oh, okay.
So the Michael Fassbender, Dave Fincher movie on Netflix. It was just again a great central performance by Fassbender, and it's Fincher. He knows what he's doing. He continues to do great things, and this is it's so it's a very understated performance from Fassbender, because he doesn't, he's almost like a robot at times. He's just going through the motions. He's just getting on with his thing, and he's almost confused when things go wrong. He's like, oh fuck, that just went wrong. Okay, well, I guess I'll just carry on with it. It's that. The idea that I have no emotions, I feel nothing, I just get on with the job, and I get on with the job until it isn't, and until something bothers him, until he fucks up, and then the consequences of what happens to his other. It's I feel nothing, but you clearly fucking do. Otherwise you wouldn't be doing what you're doing. And it's just I love the sort of the way it was, the sort of chapter structure of it, the way it's sort of like, it's almost like that video game sort of thing of on to the next boss.
Yes,
the next boss. That's it's got that. He deals with it, and it's just little things like his underestimation of how survivable a nail gun to the chest is. On a healthy human, it's like, oh, that he should have lived longer than that. And it's almost like he's just puzzled by little things. Yes. That little sort of things that he just thinks, oh, I know how the world works. Everything is fine. There are rules to these things, and I abide by those rules. And then when it doesn't work like that, he's like, huh. How weird is that, sort of thing? It's sort of the weird sort of slight confusion of sometimes fucking shit just happens.
Yeah, sometimes things just happen. Things go sideways.
Yeah, and it's really good. It's just brilliantly, directed, brilliantly acted. There's the small cast. Tilda Swinton's great as always, and Charles Parnell in his, and they're only very small roles, but again, they just bring so much to those little, roles that they have. And Arliss Howard is the client when he turns up. It's like there's just sort of moments of unexpected things happen that you're not sure how he's going to deal with them. And I think it's unexpected sometimes how he deals with them and what he accepts. It's just great. It's so wonderful. And like I said, for the beginning of the movie, movie, he doesn't do anything. He's just sat watching for his target, waiting for his shot.
Yeah.
And it's one thing I didn't mention in my review was he's obsessed with the Smiths. He just plays the Smiths all the time, and I love the Smiths.
Yeah.
Hate Morrissey, love the Smiths.
Most people hate Morrissey these days.
Yeah, the soundtrack is just mostly the Smiths, and it's with like some garbage I think in there, and some other like really cool.
Which we're also not going to complain about.
No, exactly. It's a great soundtrack. It's really, really good, and it suits his character so well. As you think, sort of, someone who listens to the Smiths might have a little bit more emotion to him, but clearly he actually does. It's one of those little things about his character that's just beautifully done and beautifully realised.
Yeah.
So yes, that's The Killer, my number 2.
Excellent. I think my number 2 might be your number 1. But my number 2 is Tetris.
Yeah, my number 1 is Tetris.
Wonderful. Well, that worked out well, didn't it? I had a feeling. Yeah. Especially I was like, if it's not your number 2, it's going to be your number 1. So, yeah, cool. Well, talked about it last week. You've reviewed it at length before. What a really fun, well-made movie. I mean, like we said, it hits the key beats of the true story. It adds a lot for movie entertainment value, but just tremendous fun.
Yeah,
tremendous.
Like I said, this year definitely seemed that I wanted movies to just to make me happy and be fun, and I think that at least 3 of the movies on my list are that. And Tetris is just such a joyful movie. It's just so well put together with, and like I said in the review, it's batshit. The idea that a movie about Tetris could be so good.
Yeah.
Because you just think, well, how is that going to work? It's just about some dude buying Tetris, but it's because of the characters. It's because of Taron Egerton is just such a joy to watch as this guy who loves the game, wants to bring it to a wider audience, and is willing to be a good guy about it and not be a douchebag. It's really good, and even the douchebag roles are great.
Roger Allam, as I said, in my review,
and his son.
Yeah. Oh God, yes.
Just a terrible human being, but towards the end, the way his dad's treated him, you actually feel a bit sorry for him.
You kind of see why, yeah.
Because you just sort of think, well, he's a douchebag because his dad's a douchebag, but his dad doesn't even give a fuck about him because he's clearly willing to use him to do whatever is necessary and not tell him. It's a great set of performances, and it's a really fun movie that just stayed with me because again, this is another movie that we saw at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I saw this one a week or so back.
Of course, yeah.
And this one jumped into my top 5 immediately upon seeing it. I was like, oh, okay, that's in there now. Yeah. But yeah, for you, your review of this was way earlier in the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a really early one, and it just stayed with me. And I've seen it a couple of times, and it's just a joy to watch.
Yeah,
it's just really fun and really sort of heartwarming. That the true story is kind of heartwarming because they got his family out, they got him out, and he got world recognition, if not what he deserved, maybe. But
yeah. And like I said, it must be weird for the real life people to see a movie about themselves while they're still alive, and obviously they know the full story. But yeah, I mean, even just as a film, this was so entertaining, so well acted, so well paced. Yeah. It's just I can't recommend this film enough. I thought it was absolutely tremendous.
Yeah, it's just real joy, and the director of his previous movies I enjoyed. John S. Baird, who'd previously done like Filth and Stan and Ollie, And both those movies are really good. Have you seen Stan and Ollie?
No, I don't think so.
It's really good. It's Steve Coogan and John C. Reilly playing Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy, and it's kind of about how their relationship went on and how it kind of soured towards the end, and it's really good. I honestly, when they announced the cast for it, and it's like Steve Coogan and Stan Laurel, like, yeah, I can fucking see that. That's perfect, brilliant. Yeah. They said John C. Reilly as Oliver Hardy. I thought, okay, I can kind of see it. And John C. Reilly is a good actor, but dude, they're brilliant. They're so good as Stan. I mean, I don't know whether you're a Stan and Ollie fan.
Yeah.
Laurel and Hardy fan.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think it's a really respectful movie. It's really well done, and I was really surprised how good it is. So, and Filth is just a really good, horrible sort of Trainspotting-y type police story.
Yeah.
Which is both gross and fun. It's McAvoy being over the top, but it's great. So yeah, it's a really good director, really good movie, and yeah, Tetris, totally my number one, and it kind of stayed there for almost the entire year. I don't think anything.
No, I actually had the impression when you did your review that this was your number one, and I remember thinking at the time, it'll be interesting to see if anything knocks this off, because I was thinking in my head, right now, this is your number one film of the year.
Yeah.
But I was curious whether maybe Killer was going to knock it down. So, yeah.
It's sort of... It
close,
came
I guess.
Close.
Yeah.
But I sort of thought, no, Tetris just stayed with me.
Yeah.
It was just such a fun movie that and I loved it so much that, yeah, it stayed as my number one all year.
Well, my number one, no surprise, is Godzilla -1. Not just a good Godzilla movie, a good movie. It's the well, I don't know. I mean, I think certainly 1954 is also a very good movie, but in terms of sequels to Godzilla movies and further movies from the original, I think this is the Wrath of Khan of Godzilla movies. Because Wrath of Khan is not just a good Star Trek movie; it's a good movie. And yeah. I think that's where I am with this one.
Well, I think we've said before that, especially when we talked about the original Godzilla movies, that the other Godzilla became something else.
Yes,
it started off as a serious movie about a serious world issue.
Yes.
And
he did dip his toes back into those, but never as serious as he did there.
Just became about the crashy smashies, which we all love. Let's face it. Well, we don't all love. Some people clearly don't. I was watching the Drinker and those guys talking about Godzilla, and they clearly don't get the joy of the crashy smashy ones.
I think I wonder. Well, I think. Certainly when it comes to tokusatsu, I think you either get that or you just don't.
Yeah.
And that's just an innate thing. I think growing up with it helps.
Yeah.
Because I grew up with watching Showa / Heisei era Godzilla movies. So that probably helps.
Yeah. And it is, for most of them, it is just switch your brain off and enjoy the big guys in rubber suits chucking each other around in models. It's just the joy of that.
Yeah, I mean, occasionally you get Godzilla versus Smog Monster and stuff, and then you have an environmental angle, yes. and there are things, but none were as kind of dour and as serious as that first film. And the first film is, in my opinion, the greatest film ever made. This, however, is a tremendous film. And it does harken back to the original in its serious tone. I think this one's got some more levity than 1954, which has none. People. You have a fun cast of naval characters. The sea mine guys are good fun. But yeah, this is a very serious take on Godzilla yet again. Finally, really. I mean, even Shin Godzilla had its moments of horror and things, but it was a dark comedy at its
Yeah.
core. This is not a comedy at all.
Shin Godzilla's weirdly funny.
I love Shin Godzilla. The dark humor of Shin Godzilla goes over so many people's heads, I've noticed.
Yeah, it's the politics of.
Oh god, my favorite joke of Shin Godzilla, which everyone seems to miss, is that the lead guy, his job title just keeps getting longer.
Yeah.
In every scene he's in, because he gets promoted constantly, and that just makes me laugh every time I see his job title getting longer and longer and longer. It's great. But this one, it's set in 1945 initially, towards the end of World War II. Following Koichi, who's a kamikaze pilot, who basically lies and says that his plane has a fault, so that he can get out of committing suicide. Fulfilling his destiny. It's coming to the end of the war, and they all know that they've lost the war, and that Japan is just sending these pilots out to, basically kill themselves for no reason, do as much damage as they can on the way down.
As much mayhem on the way out.
Yeah. But he lies, and as a result, he lands on Odo Island, and we see the kind of prehistoric version of Godzilla attack, who later gets irradiated and becomes, full Godzilla as we would know him. So Koichi is kind of blamed for the war, for losing the war by the people around him back home. All of his family died in the fire bombings of Tokyo, but certainly his neighbor and the people around him see him as a coward and basically blame him for losing the war. Basically saying, well, if you'd done your duty, if all of you had done your duty, we would have won the war. If enough of you had crashed your planes, we would have won. And he kind of makes this nuclear family with a woman that he meets and an orphaned baby, who is adorable and nearly made me cry twice. Whenever Akiko cries, I got close to crying. She's just really cute. So, Koichi not only blames himself, he's got survivor's guilt over the not kamikazing during World War II and fulfilling his duty. He also has the guilt of surviving Odo Island, which only he and one other person survived, and arguably they all died because he didn't pull the trigger. He was terrified of Godzilla. And now, of course, Godzilla is back in nuclear and attacking Tokyo and murdering everyone there. So he blames himself for a lot of things, and this film is very dark. It has a very... I don't think it's an anti-American movie. It's an anti-government movie, I would say. It's very critical of the Americans, but it's also very critical of the Japanese government as well. It doesn't really pull any punches, and it's brilliant. I think the only thing that people may struggle a little with is kind of how stagey it feels at times, but that's a very Japanese thing. It does that kind of fade to black quite often, and that kind of stuff, and some of the acting feels quite stagey, but that's a very Japanese thing, and I think you're used to seeing that. Overall, I think this was when I saw this, I went in, as I said, being a huge Godzilla fan, I was like, I need to put that aside to judge. I know I'm going to love this movie. Will it be a number one movie? And seeing it, I was like, yeah, absolutely. It was so far ahead for me that I was like, should I just ignore it?
I do kind of kick myself for not seeing it in the cinema, but I'm obviously I'm going to fucking watch it when it comes.
Oh yeah. I mean, sure. If you don't, then as soon as I own it, you can come around and watch it. They are re-releasing it in Japan in black and white. Now, whether that will come over here...
I heard that. I'm not sure whether that's a good idea or not. Well,
I think it will be great. If they color grade it properly, I think it will look fantastic. I'm hoping for a Blu-ray with the option. That's what I want. Like The Mist. They did the black and white version.
I've not seen the black and white version.
Oh, it's good. It's good. In fact, now, because some of the CG is a bit dodgy in The Mist these days, it was a bit dodgy at the time, it looks better. Because it kind of hides, Yeah. But yeah, I absolutely loved this movie. Cannot recommend it enough. So that's our top 5. of 2023, and now we move into 2024. You wanted to talk about some TV though.
Yeah, well, I've got a list for the top, my top 5 for.
Oh, you got a top 5 TV. Go on then. What's your number 5?
Beef.
Okay.
So that was I've reviewed that one. It's the Netflix series about basically literally a beef between two characters about played by Stephen Ewan and Ali Wong, and it's literally the sort of escalation of a road rage incident, and it's again it stayed with me really for a long time. The two central performances are great, even though I've not seen Ali Wong in anything before other than some of her stand up. She was a real surprise how good she was. Stephen Ewan's great. We've seen him in a number of things. He needs to be in more. But it's just a really at times mental series, and towards the end it gets a bit surreal and a bit weird. You've got talking crows, sort of maybe. It's a really sort of over the top, at times silly, but really good series that I really enjoyed. My number 4 would be 1923.
Yeah.
Again, Taylor Sheridan. What more can you ask for? It's kind of more of the same sort of thing that you expect. Mostly carried by the central performances of Ford and Mirren, and bad guy duties of Flynn and Timothy Dalton. I think it's probably my least favorite of what I've seen so far, because I still haven't seen the last season of Yellowstone, but I know that's it's going to be a good season. Slightly disappointed the way that it's all gone a bit pear-shaped, with Costner falling out and wanting to do his own thing. I mean, he's got his Western sagas. I think he's kind of selling them as come. I think they're both coming out this year. I think he's releasing them in the same year, I think, which is going to be interesting to see how that goes. But yeah, 2023 really liked it, really good. Said more of the same. My number 3 would be Fall of the House of Usher.
I was going to say Fall of the House of Usher would make my list too. I had some issues with it, but the more I think, I have continued to think about it since. So I think it is creeped up my list actually.
It's a lesser of the series overall.
Yeah,
still better than for me.
It's still better than a lot of stuff out there.
Better than Bly Manor. I think what it does suffer from is that there's no real sort of hero, as it were.
Yeah, it's hard to watch stuff with dislikable characters.
Yeah, and of course you want you know they're all going to die. You know what's happening. So you do get that whole. It's just watching how they are going to get offed, which is actually fun and great in its own respect. But the other series, they all have their people that you want to in that Hill House. You love those characters.
Oh yeah.
That family is great. You don't want that family to suffer and die. And I think, with something like Midnight Mass, they all of the series, they all kind of have their like one episode where something happens and there's like a core sort of thing that sticks in your mind, And I think Midnight Mass had that thing, that the end sequence with on the boat, on the ship, on the rowboat when they go out to, and her just ending with her crying and screaming is just, wow, that really stays you. And I don't think this series had a moment like that. It didn't have a
I kind of felt like
moment.
I think the the nightclub acid bath was their attempt at that, but it didn't.
Yeah.
It
It
didn't.
didn't have the same impact.
It felt silly. It kind of made me laugh. It was just. I don't think it hit in the same way that his previous attempts have done.
I think mainly because it's like, well, all these people probably
they're
deserve
all assholes.
they're all horrible people. They probably deserve it, really. So it was, it's not. It doesn't quite have the same impact.
And it wasn't terribly shocking. The moment the kid's like, hey, like there's some unnamed tanks on the roof. Let's just put whatever's in that over everyone. It's like, okay, I think I know where this is going. I mean, maybe not acid, but I certainly knew it was a bad idea, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, having said that, it was still my number 3, so it's still
No, it's up there for me. I'll give a few mentions in a minute. I don't have an order of things. I haven't thought about it until this moment.
Those performances are all great. His core people, they all do their job really well. And in this one, what's the guy who played Roderick?
I can't remember.
Hang on. Bruce Greenwood. Bruce Greenwood, who was a replacement actor, is so good.
Yeah,
it's like I guess the new boy, if you like.
Yes.
And even with how we feel about Mark Hamill these days.
Oh no, Mark Hamill! This is one of my favorite performances of Mark Hamill ever.
It's so good, isn't it?
I thought he was superb in this.
The scene where he thinks he's got her I think it's like the last but one episode, and she talks to him, and you get these little things about his character that he went on some expedition to, like, I think it's like the North Pole. I can't remember what the story is. It's the one about Pym, isn't it? It's like, and he's seen things and stuff has happened to him, and he's got this weird view of the world because of his experiences.
And he's got this weird sense of honor and stuff. And he's just he's the most interesting character for me.
He is.
I thought he was great.
She sort of really appreciates the way he is.
Yes.
And she touches his face, and he sort of accepts that touch.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Wonderful. Yeah. Really good performance.
Really nice little touch. So yeah, he was great. It was, everybody was doing their part, and it was just a really well put together series.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it. Silo is my number 2. I get this one was just a really cool, end of the world sci-fi show. It's a people surviving in a bunker in the sort of future after everything's gone to shit, and how this bunker has been run, and how there's like a secret thing running through this stuff. And again, great central performances by Rebecca Ferguson and even Tim Robbins, who I've never been a fan of, despite the fact that he's a good actor. I've never been a fan. Even he's really good as this, the head librarian sort of thing of the bunker. And it's really nice, little twisty sort of, well put together series. I really, really enjoyed it. It's just a great sci-fi show, which we don't have too many good sci-fi shows at the moment.
No.
So yeah, that was and my number 1 is One Piece. I just fucking adored that show. It was a complete surprise to me, and I held off for a while because everybody was talking about it, and everybody was saying, "Oh, it's wonderful." And I thought, is it? I've like tried to watch an episode, 2 episodes of the series, the cartoon, and I don't like the art style. I didn't enjoy it, but this series was so good, and again, the central core performances just wonderful. I don't remember what the bloody kid's name is. I'm going to butcher his name, aren't I? Inaki Godoy, who was Monkey, and for me, Emily Rudd as Nami were just so good, and the guy playing Zero, Sonny Chiba's son, so great. McKenyu, they're so good. It's honestly, it was the weirdest thing because it's such a weird show. You know, it is one of those shows where you just weird shit happens and you just go, yeah, okay, this is what the world is. Fine.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the main kid's arm stretching stuff. He's like elastic. It's like, yeah, okay, fine. That's what they're showing me. That's the world they've made. It works. And the you know, I said it made me cry at least twice. You know, and who'd have, you know, as I said in my review, who'd have thought, you know, Craig Fairbrass could ever make me feel something. It was just such a surprise when you know his character, you see what he did and what he survived and what this, you know, he did to save this kid. It's like, oh my God, he's actually acting. This is ridiculous. I've never seen him perform like this before. It's like, if you could do this, you know, why isn't your career better? Really?
Yeah.
You know, the scene where Nami asks for help, it's wonderful, just so beautifully done, and just proves that you can fucking do a faithful, good,
yes,
you know, adaptation of a manga or an anime. It's you know, it's everything that bloody Cowboy Bebop isn't.
No,
you know,
I'm never gonna watch it. Not Cowboy Bebop. I'll watch One Piece. I'm not watching Cowboy Bebop.
Watch the first episode.
I saw the trailer. That was enough.
Yeah.
Awful.
But this is done with genuine love. Everybody is in this, you know, series.
Yeah.
They're, you know, you can. I've seen, like, you know, behind the scenes stuff, and you can see that the actors really wanted to play these characters.
Yeah.
The actress who played Emily Rudd, who plays Nami, was already a fan. She did everything she could to get this part. You know, you can see the passion at which they came at this series, and it completely, you see it all on the screen. It's all there for it to be seen. It's a great show, and it's the best thing I saw all year.
Well, I don't really have a top series list because I was just thinking about movies. I didn't think about TV. But I have quickly put together. Well, I guess we'll just call them mentions, honorable mentions of 2023. Castlevania Nocturne, nowhere near as good as Castlevania, although it wasn't a bad start, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Still great. Yeah. Fall of the House of Usher. I had a few misgivings, but overall enjoyed it. And the more time has gone on, the more I've thought about it and enjoyed it more. Yep. You know, sometimes series need to sit with you a little while.
Yeah.
And the longer I've thought, the more I've thought about it, the more I enjoyed it. Jack Ryan season 4, tremendous.
One of the weird things about the Fall of the House of Usher, it is the surprise that, you know, that I like, is the fact that they're basically, you know, not exactly adaptations of Poe stories, but they're inspired by Poe stories.
This one's kind of all of them, right? It's like as many as we could get into one story.
Done so well, and you know, most of them are only like names of characters or
it's nods,
mentions of things.
Yeah.
But I love the things like the Black Cat is a great adaptation, you know, and the Telltale Heart, really great version of the Telltale Heart. I think that's probably my favorite episode, the Telltale Heart one, because I don't remember the actress's name, but she is, you know, her performance is this falling apart.
Yeah, it's tremendous.
You know, doctor is really good, and I love the scenes where she's talking to her dad, and you can hear the heart monitor going in the other room, and she's like, "Can you hear that? Can you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I can hear that." And it's like, "Oh, you can hear that," and it's like, wonderfully done.
That's not a good thing.
No.
Jack Ryan season 4. Again, it's not as good as past seasons, but it's still tremendous. I'm glad they finished. It's really nice to have a coherent series of Jack Ryan, be it movies or TV, where it's the same actor giving the same performance of Jack Ryan. Because growing up, every movie had not only a different actor, but they were portraying vastly different characters as Jack Ryan.
He's never been really consistent as a character.
And it's so nice here We've got a great cast of characters. It's continued to be great. I wouldn't say season 4 is my favorite season, but it ended well. It ended strong.
It had some nice stuff, and I did quite like a lot of the sort of the Russian stuff. And what's his name? The Scottish guy who played the KGB dude.
I couldn't tell you his name.
Oh God, what's his name? He's so good.
Yeah, the whole cast I thought were tremendous.
And Wendell Pierce continues to be great.
Oh yeah, Greer is my favorite character in those shows.
Yeah, he is. Mine
he's
too.
Just wonder. I love how grumpy fucking is.
Yeah, he is.
He's just fantastic.
He's kind of just playing Bunk turned up a little.
Yeah, he kind of is. Yeah. That's all I need.
Yeah, exactly. I'm fine with that. It's great.
Picard season 3. Well done, guys. You made one not shit season of Star Trek. And that's probably all you were going to get, but we got it. It was great.
I haven't seen the thing yet, but I think they've just announced another J.J. Abrams Star Trek.
Yeah, I don't care. Star Trek could get back in the bin. I'm just glad I got a great season of Star Trek. I'm happy. And I can happily ignore everything that comes out after it. It's fine.
Still not sure I'm ever going to watch it, but
I'm glad
you like it.
I love it. I've got the original series, I've got TNG, I've got Deep Space Nine, I've got Voyager if I'm desperate, I've got Enterprise, and now I've got Picard season 3, and that is it. Outside of that, I don't care. I'm glad we got something. It's a nice ending. It feels like it ended better than the movies ended it. Happy. And then I guess seasons that are still one finished today. Monarch. Started off rough, and
I still haven't seen the last episodes of that or Reacher.
They stuck the landing with Monarch.
That's good.
Yeah, last time we were talking about it off air afterwards, and we were saying how oh god, it's okay. Like it's got some good bits. I'm kind of enjoying it.
Yeah.
Banger episode that I watched that night. I was like, wow, okay, now you're getting somewhere. It just felt like they stretched out too long, but it got there in the end. Really enjoyed. By the end, I was really enjoying it. And Reacher, still not finished it, but what I've seen of it so far, superb.
I think with Monarch, I think as I said last week,
they haven't got enough material for a series. That's the problem.
No, and the young cat, the sort of now people are annoying.
Yeah,
every time
I don't mind Kate and Kintaro. Is it Mia? No,
the hacker is annoying.
May? Is it May?
Terrible.
I hated her. I still don't. By the end, I still don't really understand why anyone gives a shit about her. She's treated everyone like shit by the end. She's just awful.
Every time they're in the 40s,
it's wonderful. Yes, the founding of Monarch and all of that stuff.
That's all great.
Yeah.
Wyatt Russell's wonderful. The actress playing, I forget all their fucking names. She's great. I like the sort of weird, sort of, triangular dynamic.
Yeah.
With those characters works really well, and I think that's the weirdest thing. Is it feels like they knew what they were writing there, and it feels like they didn't quite know how to handle the present stuff.
It does come together quite nicely by the very end. You can kind of, I think once you've seen the final episode, you'll see what they were trying to do. I don't think it was entirely successful, but I appreciate what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
But it definitely was too long. They didn't have enough. And also, I mean, the continuity is awful with the movies. Like, I don't know what they're doing. But that aside, I've enjoyed it, and I certainly enjoyed it by the end. I thought the end was great. So it stuck the landing. And what I've seen of Reacher season 2. Super.
Yeah, what I've seen so far, I did enjoy more than I thought I was going to with Monarch. Because after your initial review of the first couple of episodes, I was like, oh,
it did get better. Yeah, it got there.
It certainly has its moments. It's not great, but it is enjoyable.
Well, like you, I was mainly sticking with it for the 40s and 50s stuff. But it got better as time went on.
Reacher, I'm not feeling this as much as the first season.
I'm loving it.
It's still good, still great. Is it me, or does it feel like Reacher is a bit thicker this season? Does he feel a little bit dumber to you?
Well, the weird thing is, I guess he kind of has to be because it's an ensemble, and
Yeah.
it's like he's just if he knows everything.
I mean, there's a scene in I don't know episode 2 or 3 where he literally does the Sherlock thing and he works all these things out, and you're like, okay, that's great because he just worked all that stuff.
That's Reacher,
But
right?
then there are other times when he's like saying things, and it's like, really, that's a bit of a dumb thing for you to say. Are you sure? Okay.
Yeah. A friend
So
of mine.
I think he's not written quite consistently in this season.
No, a friend of mine kind of ruined it for me a bit when he was like, is it Alan Richardson?
Yeah.
The actor. He was like, he just makes Reacher come across really thick, like all the time. He was saying this about season 1. He was like,
I didn't find
his opinion is that Reacher is written clever, but his performance is kind of dumb. So he just kind of comes across like he's saying clever things, but he's dumb. Yeah. And I can kind of see his point. Like, it's almost like he's saying things he doesn't quite understand.
Yeah,
you know.
I found that I didn't find that in the first season, but
you're finding it here.
I found it in season 2, and I'm not saying it's bad. It's still a really.
Oh, I've had a blast so far.
I like his crew.
Yeah.
What's her face is a little hit and miss with me. His number 2.
Neely, is it Neely?
Yeah, Neely is a little hit and miss for me.
I like her.
I really like the big mouth.
Oh, he's fantastic. Have you got to the episode when you see his family?
Yes.
That was brilliant. I loved that. That was a wonderful moment.
Yeah, I like what they've done, and I'm not sure about the
love interest.
The love interest.
No, me either.
I'm.
She has her moments, but I'm not.
I'm convinced she's going to turn out to be a bad guy, and we've got no real evidence for it.
She's got the look of a bad guy.
I think that maybe that's it. I mean, she's been in loads of other things as well. I've seen her before. She's a pretty good actress. She was in Tron Legacy.
Was she?
Yeah, she was one of the angels.
Oh, okay.
She's one of those that the ones that fit.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of them.
Yeah, I still enjoying it. It's still a good series. It certainly wouldn't make my top 5.
Well, I don't know if it makes my top. It wasn't even technically finished last year, so I'm just kind of talking. I didn't make a list of TV. Although, to be fair, you're much more the TV person than I am. I tend to stick to movies. Where does Rebel Moon come on your top movies? Is that like so obviously number 1? You just didn't bother mentioning it, or? Yeah,
completely.
Yeah.
When I was thinking about this, when did I review that Marilyn Monroe movie? Was that last year, or was that
2023 or 2024? I don't know.
I can't remember what year that was, but
it's on the cusp. I think
that would be if it was last year. That would be my fucking most hated movie of the year.
I remember how angry that made you.
Made me. The difference between Rebel Moon and that was that movie just made me livid. I hated that movie with a passion.
2020 is a 2022 film, Blonde?
Yeah, okay. So
it's a 2022 film, so I think.
I had a feeling it might have been the year before.
Yeah.
So in that case, then, Rebel Moon was probably the movie my least.
I don't know if it was my least. Yeah, I don't know if it was my least favorite, but it was awful.
I can't think of anything else I watched.
Yeah, I'm struggling now. I'm struggling.
That bad. I'm sure there was stuff I'd watched that was pretty terrible, but I've just forgotten those.
Yeah.
It's gonna stay with me with its awfulness.
So we've started 2024. What are we doing next time? Are we gonna do a?
So I've got 3 choices from me. I didn't know whether you wanted to add to them.
Oh, we're doing a movie next time. That was the question I was gonna ask?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, hit me.
So I've got 3. I've got The Mummy, 59. Mummy.
Hammer.
Yes.
Okay.
We're doing Hammer.
Yeah. Oh,
so
we are doing Hammer.
Yeah, we're doing Hammer. All 3 of these movies will be Hammer. The Mummy, 59.
Great movie.
Curse of the Werewolf.
Cool.
Or The Brides of Dracula.
Oh.
So your choice of those.
Oh, God.
Unless you have another choice that you wanted to do over?
Well, didn't I suggest Quatermass, and then you were like, "We've done Quatermass,
Yeah,
so like we won't do that one." I'm kind of. I think it's going to be The Mummy or Brides.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a preference out of those two?
No, they've both got
good
performances, so I'm happy with either of those.
Let's go with The Mummy. We haven't done a Mummy movie yet.
No, we haven't. Okay,
let's do that because it's something different.
Yeah,
and people seem to love it when we do Hammer.
I
so
don't think we have done a Mummy movie at all yet.
Don't think so.
No, so yeah.
I mean, I might have talked about the Tom Cruise movie once, but that doesn't count.
I'm sure we've talked about the 90s movies because they're great.
I think we talked about them in comparison to the Tom Cruise movie, but yeah, great.
And the original Universal.
Oh yeah, well of course. So that's it from us. We missed it last time, so Happy New Year.
Yeah. Happy New Year, everybody.
Thank you for listening during 2023. And yes, let's all have a great 2024. We will be back next time with Hammer's version of The Mummy.